Hi, welcome to the Porsche Boxster as seen by New Art. I'm James, and today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be removing an engine from the Boxster. Well, it's already done, but this is the one. This is the one that I blew up at the track in September. Big hole in it. So we got a new engine, and I'm going to be transferring over the ancillary things, the power steering, etc., and all the cables and hoses, and we'll be looking at that. And then afterwards, we'll be in the next video. I'll probably do the putting together the motor and the transmission and putting it back in the box. So I hope you enjoy the video, and if you have any comments or anything, of course, I'm always open to them, the good ones and the bad ones, but you know, it's all fair. Okay, so anyway, enjoy the video. Ciao. Okay, so we got it all set up for to drop the engine. There's just a little quick look. Here's this bar across the top with the chain and this sort of long screw thingy here, which will it's hooked on down just where the throttle body used to be down there, and that's to keep it's not really made to hold the whole weight of the engine. What it is essentially is to balance the engine, because the transmission is behind it, motor's in front of it. I've decided to drop the transmission and the motor together, not taking them apart before taking them out. I did this previously with another car. It was a Tiptronic, but this one's a manual, so there's a few different steps, but mostly it's the same. I've got a big jack here on under the front motor mount, and here I've got another jack, which is lots of blocks piled on top of that to support the transmission. And I have to lower these sort of more or less at the same time. But it's very important that I also, of course, have the this bar up here, because that's going to make sure things don't go toppling over. So the engine is almost out. You always have to look everywhere and just make sure that there's no little. I had to cut a couple of small wires, but those are wires that I put in anyway. They're for the oil temperature and pressure. So I clipped those. I'll just put in connectors on them afterwards when I put in the new engine. But I've been looking around, and I tied up the one of the axles with this cable here to get it out of the way, pulled the engine over to the side a little bit. Here's another look at that axle that I've tied up with that yellow ratchet strap. And I've swapped out my jack for my motorcycle jack, because it was a little more stable. But the motorcycle jack didn't actually go high enough to do the whole job. So I did it with the first part with that rather teetery jack, and then I swapped it out afterwards. Here's the engine again, almost all the way down. This here, of course, is the air conditioning pump, which stays in the car. You don't take that out with the engine, because otherwise you'd have to redo all the AC, the lines, and you have to, you know, it's all very toxic, that type of thing. You don't need to do that. Just leave it intact, set it inside the car, and when you put the other engine in, we'll bolt it in as it goes up. Okay, so here's the engine that I've received, and we're starting to put it back together. Put all the peripheral things on it, the EOS, and this is the oil tube coming in. These things came with the motor, along with the intake pipes. But there's a lot of things that I still have to get. I need a starter motor, and starter motor back here, and a few other things to put it together. And here's, of course, is my the old engine with its rather large hole. You can actually, at some point, you can actually see right down through the middle of the motor. So it's certainly seen better days. So obviously here this is quite a puzzle, trying to remember where I put things. I did take a bunch of pictures, but you know, you can never take enough pictures, I'll tell you that. Now the big problem, of course, I mean this I know where that goes, and this over here it feeds up through the intake manifold and underneath the fuel rail, and comes around here, of course, and attaches to the AOS. But the big problem, of course, and I took many pictures of it, but still it's going to be the mess is this thing down here, this octopus, well, many-legged thing. It has many little attachments on it, and trying to remember not only to where they attach, because I did document that more or less, or fairly well, but the big problem is also to remember it now. Okay, does this go underneath here? What's this little clip? No, this is a nice little clip here. So of course the other question I had was what to reuse, what to transfer over from my old engine and what to use that came with this engine. Now these intake manifolds that are here came with this engine, and you know, I would normally just use them because they're clean, but I see that, I think in shipping, because they were not on the top of the engine when they were shipped, and I see that here I've got some damage around here, and the damage goes right across the gasket thingy here, so I'm just worried about that it might cause some leaks. So you say, well, okay, why don't you just use the old ones? Well, the other problem, of course, is that the old ones, there's one of them there, and here's the other one. Let me see, I'll show you something right here. Okay, now I don't know if you can see inside there. There's lots and lots of metal. Okay, so I mean, they're not damaged at all, but they do need to be completely and thoroughly cleaned, and to make sure that there's nothing in the tubes anywhere. But of course the bottoms, you see the bottoms here, are in actually better shape than the ones that came with it. So I'll see, maybe I'll just spend an hour and thoroughly clean them out with some solvent and things like that. They should be all right. I can't emphasize enough to take lots, if you're taking an engine apart or doing swap over like I'm doing here, to take lots of pictures of the engine as you take it apart, or as you undress it, if you just like taking off the parts, and take them from all angles, like walk around all the way around and that sort of thing, because there's so many little clips, like these type of clips here, this type of clip here. This rubber grommet was pushed up like that, so I said, oh well, this one goes in there, but of course it doesn't go in there at all. It actually goes in over, it goes around this way and goes in this way. There's just little things like that that, you know, make it a difficult job if you haven't done, you know, if you haven't got lots of information to work with. This is a new starter motor. Of course the old starter motor blew up, and so I had to buy a new one of those. I've installed the power steering pump, and I'm running the hoses. So I thought I had lost all of my photos because my phone broke, but I guess I'd been smart enough to transfer them over to my computer, so I did find them, and now I transferred them from my computer to my iPad. That was harder than anything else. I don't understand Apple at all. Anyway, that's a bit of a rant for me. I put on the underdrive pulley, so I had to saw that off. I think I already have a shot of that. I'm putting in the wiring harness, and I've got most things figured out. It's did I say you should take lots of pictures? You should take many more pictures than you think you might need. Make sure you get every angle. Now, what I've just done now is because I wasn't sure whether this hose here, this wiring harness, went over or under the oil filler tube. I had it over top, and well, a little later when I was putting this in here, this is a clip, a bracket that goes over, let's see if I can get around and get a better shot here. This bracket here which is beside the vacuum canister, is obviously made, you can see inside there, this little groove here is made to fit into that little slot there. And so if that goes there, then this, of course, around here has to point down, otherwise it would interfere with this vacuum thing here. And so it obviously has to go underneath. I just flipped the engine over, and we're going to be putting on the deep sump. And first thing, of course, was to clean very well all the surfaces, make sure there's no old sealer on it. I've now installed this. There's a part here. Let's see if I can get around here. This is a spacer that brings the suction tube further down, well, up in this case, but down into the deep sump. Here's the deep sump itself, and I've cleaned up. It's all nice and clean now, and it was full of junk, bits of metal and everything, of course, from the engine explosion, but also the most disturbing thing was I found a lot of sealant. You can see a bit on the edge here. There's a bit this orange colored stuff here's a good shot. This sealant here, as you can see, it's really soft, and so it wasn't the right. That's when I put that on the last time. I'm afraid that I put the wrong sealant on, that it never really hardened, and we ended up with a lot of this very soft silicone that I'm afraid may have blocked the passage and may have caused the problem with the oiling and the explosion. Put that little line of silicone around there. Hopefully it's good. I've put the sump plate into place, the deep sump, and it's just setting up now. I tightened it down just finger tight, and I'm going to be I'll wait for an hour, and then I'm going to torque it down to spec. So here it is, ready to roll. Now what we're going to be doing is putting on the flywheel and the clutch, hooking up the transmission, and stuffing it back in the old Boxster. So I hope you'll join me for that. See you next time. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Please click the subscribe button and leave any comments below.